not a test. This is rock and roll.
Welcome to the sober battlefield assessment of MMTLP's campaign for T2 settlement. This strategic operation manual is produced by Allan S. Billehus. I'm a vocational rehabilitation counselor and vocational expert. I'm also a shareholder. We are entering the war room 304 to review Dr. E's intelligence dossier. We could also call it a strategic assessment report. As of October 24, 2025, we are 1,052 days into this siege. Our deadline is December 8th, 2025 of this year. This presentation covers timelines, ETAs, systemic cheating, and realistic path forward. So let's dive in. We begin our sober assessment of Dr. E's contribution. Dr. E has provided critical operational intelligence through our comprehensive assessment of all our frontline positions in the MMTLP theater, which has been under siege for 1,052 days. Our assault objective remains enforcing T2 settlement and an audited share count. Note that we emphasize no guarantees of success. All ETAs assume persistent MMTLP efforts and cheating from SEC, FINRA, DTCC, our court system, the Department of Justice, FBI, Ann Wagner, Pete Sessions, Ralph Norman, Congress in general, Senate in general, and the Judicial branch. We do not expect the Trump administration to come to save us. It is up to us. This is the executive summary. The MMTLP overview and assumptions are clear. We've been here 1,052 days post-halt with no T2 settlement. We've had partial FOIAs show pre-halt knowledge, but redactions and denials persist. No injunctions. The SEC and FINRA and brokers will destroy our evidence on December 8th of 2025 of this year. This is tied to the halt in all our evidence. Fraud packets have been delivered and verified delivered to the Trump administration, the FBI, Secret Service, as well as Congress members and senators. Yet we have no action. There is no consequences for them. There is no enforcement. It is up to us to provide the consequences and enforcement. Trump will not come to save us. The cheating theme from the SEC and FINRA we're well aware of. We've been here for 3 years. The evidence destruction is only going to make their immunity stronger, hiding all paths forward. Dr. E's initial drop focuses on regulatory evasions. Current status, redactions, and denials are ongoing. Phones are wiped, and deletion is confirmed, and can't track excuses persist. Failures that blocks proof of exemptions, and hearings accept all of these evasions. Should we continue pushing? Yes. Though spoliation will destroy our evidence this December, and that will cause major motions of interference and will shut down everything. With an ETA of 3 to 6 months to a ruling and 1 to 3 years to possibly never, if we only use this battlefront as our only option. If immunity is total and the evidence is gone, we will have no help. Realistic possibilities win percentage doing what we're doing now is 0 to 15%. As you can see, there's no guarantee. The spoliation of data is the endgame for FINRA and the SEC for MMTLP. How are they cheating? The SEC and FINRA delete data like text and emails to evade the system. Past examples include 2020 to 2023 fines for record-keeping failures such as 125 million SEC settlements, past cheating, off-channel communication scandals like WhatsApp deletion in 2022 probe. To overcome cheating, pursue forensic audits through FBI and through the DOJ, as well as FOIA requests. However, we've all been denied this for the last 3 years. How can we expect this to change now, magically? Time to accomplish this with what we're doing now, if the system would work with this, is 16 to 18 months. And that would be with partial sanctions. But never if spoliation occurs, which will occur on December 8th, 2025. For a congressional authority on oversight hearings, tactics, and time estimates, how they cheat. The committees stall with no follow-up. Past 2023-2024, Gensler's evasions were unpunished and allowed. They control what information is made public, how questions are given, what questions are allowed to be answered and provided, and do the absolute minimum to ensure that MMTLP is never exposed and settlement does not occur. Past cheating. They accepted SEC and FINRA's risk excuses without probes. How can MMTLP overcome cheating? Public shaming through ex post. However, that hasn't really helped us. We need veteran pushes. We need a constitutional sit-in to break it out. Current status, no 2025 hearings. Our letters are unanswered. Our ex and social media posts are ineffective. Failures. Committees accept SEC FINRA excuses, no subpoenas, no follow-ups. Should we keep pushing? Yes, just to create more evidence. But we must overcome this with a sit-in and media and veteran appeals. We've got to reach the public. Realistic win percentage if we don't do a sit-in, 0 to 20%. If history rules, it's 0. It's what we've gotten for the last 3 years. Leverage exists, but political avoidance is high. 1,000 days says 0 unless we make major changes. December 8th says there's no more time left. MMTLP settlement is currently stalled process from hearings to no action. Congressional authority on funding leverage. Times per year, we're looking at full year 2026 cycle. This includes President's budget in February of 2026 committees in April through May. Passage by September 30th, 2026. It's often delayed with continuing resolutions from October to December. ETA, if done, 6 to 12 months for optimal conditions, like the 2026 budget, but indefinite if ignored. A sit-in puts in pressure on them now. Anything we do with Congress or the Senate, expect diversions, gaslighting, and ignoring, just like we've been getting for the last 3 years. Budget tool is strong, but the Senate blocks likely, so it's not guaranteed if we get something attached to that. Prioritize market stability over retail. That is what they've always chosen, which is another reason why a constitutional sit-in is the only option left for us. We have to get their attention and we have to be first. Otherwise, they were going to make us last no matter what we do, no matter what we prove. A sit-in will create immediate demands, highly focused. We don't need lobbyists. It's just us against them. Legislative action, tactics and timeline estimates. Current status, bills are stalled, no resolutions. Failures, broader priorities override a small group of OTC investors, or even retail investors in general. they always overlook the retail market. You only have to look at GME and AMC, who's been in this fight longer than us at a higher level, to see that we will get no results and no votes. Time in months and years from today, even if we got something started to them today that was guaranteed, it would still be 6 to 18 months from introduction to vote, and then another 1 to 3 years for full passage. Bills stall indefinitely. A sit-in pressures them now, today. So if you want to continue with this route, you're looking at a 0 to 15% win, maybe something in 1 to 3 years. And it might be you were right, but there's no settlement money. So there's no guarantee with this. Only a constitutional sit-in will override this. How they cheat? They stall proposals. Don't advance the bills. In 2023 to 2025, retail investment bills went nowhere. They will divert to risk and securing the market over retail. They will secure and help FINRA and the SEC in making sure market stability based on their lies. To overcome this, a sit-in is absolutely needed. Congressional authority on public pressure. Tactics, letters, campaigns, social media campaigns, petitions like change.org, escalate to the media with veteran stories. Current status, campaigns amplify hardships, but we've dropped off hard in the last year, and we're basically ignored online. Our letters are ignored. Our tactics have failed over 3 years. Only Don Fizz and team doing meetings, Zoom meetings, and in-person meetings got us movement. That alone should let you know that doing things in person gets action, but doing it in private doesn't work. We've got to do it publicly. And unfortunately, for those of us who don't want to do it, it means a constitutional sit-in. MMTLP failures. Statements without escalation from the government. SEC and FINRA, independent cited. Immunity cited and upheld. Should we continue pushing? Yes, to overcome with media blitzes and mobilization. Time estimates without a sit-in, 1 to 3 months for visibility, 6 to 12 months for responses like a letter, acknowledgement, and that would probably be it. Indefinite for settlement. There is no settlement pressure with social media campaigns. Sit-in, yes. We'd be pressured through publicity and Wagner's offices for visibility on fraud. Sit-in pressure amplifies the whole system. Media coverage will come in to embarrass SEC, FINRA, DTC, and prompts DOJ to step in. We need our veterans up front. Executive branch influences on presidential influence. Current status, 2025 tags unanswered. No directives. Dead. Failures. Probes as stalled. Ignores retail in spite of DJT request to Congress, Senate, NASDAQ outlining the fraud. Trump and his administration, in spite of multiple presentations with factual data trails from the likes of GTII, Finger, MMTLP, DJT, Kodak, have gone nowhere. Current efforts, indefinite. Nothing has been done, despite the packets, despite the presentations to him and his administration. Realistic, we're looking at 0 to 15% for a miracle for him to help us out, and that's not a guarantee. His priorities shift to what is in the public's eye immediately, and the only way to get in the public's eye immediately is a constitutional sit-in. Executive branch on Treasury and Department of Justice. The DOJ coordinates under Exchange Act Section 21, but hasn't enforced fraud claims. This is in spite of multiple presentations with multiple fraud packets of detailed data from companies such as AMC, GME, DJT, FINRA, GTII, and yes, even MMTLP has been in all of them. There has been no help. They are stalling, and this is an ongoing process. Will they ever help? You don't know. Treasury overlooks systemic risks, blocking interagency action. Why should we continue if it's failed? It builds a record for escalation. Alternatives like sit-ins, a constitutional sit-in would amplify the situation. Realistic win without a sit-in, 0 to 10%. Again, no guarantee. They warehouse complaints. How the system has cheated. The probes are always stalled. In the past, they've ignored RICO referrals from 2023 to 2025 and stock market fraud from multiple companies making the complaint, not just MMTLP. They warehouse MMTLP complaints. To overcome this cheating, we need the public outrage and pressure, and that only comes one way. Something viral through the media or created ourselves through a constitutional sit-in. The executive branch influence on presidential executive branch influences on OMB tags, current status unused, no reviews. This is dead. SEC 2025 appropriations unchanged despite comprehensive packets, no MMTLP conditions from multiple companies and multiple stock issues and private. This is a complete dead end for us. If we want Trump's help, the SEC ties is unused. Failures, denials on MMTLP have stalled. No MMTLP. He's ignored retail in spite of unused despite control. Outlining all of the fraud. This channel has been ignored. Is experiencing we can pay for a lobbyist and lobby this for 2026 editions. For example, like Red bills tied to veterans appeals for bipartisan support, overcome by public campaign highlighting 65,000 investors for this 2026 year possibility. Realistic win without a sit-in, 0 to 5%. It's totally indirect. This thing favors budget tools, but Senate filibusters and immunity blocks would enforce. Mandamus and injunctive relief. Judicial authority on mandamus injunctive relief. Difficulty. This is an extremely high bar to reach. It's a very expensive option. It requires clear right, like a menstrual duty, and irreparable harm, which we have, but it's not in everyday people's terms. It's in legal terms, which is why it's extremely high bar to meet, and it's rarely met. SEC and FINRA immunity often dismisses any of the claims brought against them under this area. Like the Alpine 2024 challenges, there was only partial wins, but rare but full relief. We're looking at a success rate of 0 to 10%, and that's if we meet the high bar to get this started. Success in securities versus regulators, sober look, we're basically looking at 0. The government cheats. It ultimately means retail loses. With deletions, stalls against retail. Past cheating, evidence destruction, and probes like off-channel scandals. To overcome cheating, spoliation sanctions are required, but they're not in place. Unified class actions. Overall mechanisms on injunctions and FOIAs as a last result, status, partial wins, rare conversions. Should we keep doing this? Yes, to build political evidence. Realistic win, 0 to 15%. Not guaranteed. Hindered with deletions that are coming this December. How they cheat, they have multiple litigation barriers. Redacted FOIAs in 2023 through 2025. Probe exemptions. The SEC's immunity and FINRA's immunity rules. To overcome cheating, we need evidentiary hearings. But will they be fair and truthful? You know what we got with Congress and the Senate were not fair and truthful. They did the absolute minimums. If the system does not want exposure, it won't be exposed. They are the gatekeepers. A constitutional sit-in breaks the gates. Judicial authority on compel data enforce settlement. Current status, no compulsion in 2025 suits. Data is often withheld. Failures, they deny MMTLP, GME, AMC, FNGR, GTII proof, and they state we have no legal standing. How this has failed. Denials for lack of proof and standing. Immunity limits scopes. In order to overcome this, we must preserve the December 8th, 2025 data from being spoiled. Continue pushing? Yes. To overcome with hearings and sanctions. In recommendations and conclusions, will MMTLP win settlement? Not just vindication, but settlement money after 1,000 days if we keep doing what we're doing? If December 8, 2025 occurs, that is FINRA's and the SEC's endgame for MMTLP fiasco. All the fraud will be erased, and the brokers will be erasing all the fraud that they hold. And when they walk into court, they don't even have to pull out the immunity card anymore. That's no longer at risk. They just get to say the data is no longer available, and therefore there's no proof. That's game over for MMTLP. Everything listed here shows a 0 to 15% average possibility. But after 1,000 days, are you still wanting to do the same thing you're doing for a possible 15% win when you're absolutely guaranteed to win something with the constitutional sit-in? That's a big bet, especially when some of you have 50, 60, 80, $200 million on the line and you're just willing to walk away. The December 8, 2025 spoliation will be the end game. A constitutional sit-in is a Hail Mary and a last-minute move. But with December around the corner, that's the way it's got to be.